Hey, welcome! Today, we are diving deep into what is arguably one of the most powerful chapters in the entire Bible, Romans 3. It's really a masterclass in logical argument. It starts with a very specific question about privilege and builds, step by step, to a stunning verdict that includes literally everyone. So let's break down how this argument is put together piece by piece.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to follow the logic of the text itself. We'll start with that question of advantage, see how some tricky objections about God's unfailing faithfulness are handled, and then land on the universal diagnosis for all of us. And that leads to a surprising reveal about the real purpose of the law, what the text calls a mirror.
Okay, let's jump right in. The whole chapter kicks off by tackling a really direct question. Does having some kind of special spiritual heritage actually give you a leg up? Right out of the gate, verse 1 anticipates what people would be thinking. After hearing about equality before God, the obvious question is, so what advantage then hath the Jew? Or, to put it another way, was being God's chosen people kind of pointless all along? And the answer that comes back in verse 2 is a big, emphatic yes. There was a huge advantage. But, and this is key, it wasn't about being morally better. It was about stewardship. As the verse says, they were entrusted with the very oracles of God. Think about that. They were the ones trusted with God's actual revelation, the scriptures. That's a massive, unique privilege. But, a good answer often leads to even tougher questions. So the argument brilliantly starts to anticipate and just take apart a series of what-if scenarios that could really threaten the whole point about God's faithfulness. So verse 3 throws this huge question on the table. If some of the people who were trusted with God's words were unfaithful, does their unbelief nullify the faith of God? Basically, can human failure actually wreck God's plan or make him unfaithful? The response in verse 4 is just absolute. God forbid. No way. The core idea here is that human failure can never, ever cancel out God's integrity. In fact, the argument flips it around. It says that against the dark backdrop of our failure, God's truthfulness, the fact that he is true while every man a liar, actually shines even brighter. Okay, now the argument tackles this really tricky, almost cynical paradox. Verses 5 and 7 lay out this twisted line of thinking. Hey, if our unrighteousness actually highlights God's righteousness, and if our lies somehow leads to his glory, then how can God turn around and justly punish us for it? But that whole line of thinking gets shot down immediately in verse 6. The counter-argument is both simple and profound. If God wasn't perfectly just, the whole idea of him judging the world would completely fall apart. His job as judge demands that he is righteous, period, no matter what kind of logical loop you try to argue. And this is where the whole thing masterfully pivots. After dealing with those objections, the focus zooms way out from just one group to deliver this central, unifying verdict about the condition of all humanity. So, after everything we've heard, the text circles right back around in verse 9 to the main point. It asks again, what then? Are we better than they? Does any group, in this case we, the Jews, really have the moral high ground over they, the Gentiles? And the answer in verse 9 is definitive. No, in no wise. Not at all. All the previous points were leading right here, to completely level the playing field. The verdict is in, and it's universal. Both Jews and Gentiles are in the exact same boat. They are all under sin. And to prove this isn't some brand new idea, verses 10 through 18 just unleash this rapid-fire barrage of quotes from the Old Testament. It's like a lawyer presenting overwhelming evidence. This isn't some new accusation. It's an indictment built from their own holy books, painting this really bleak but comprehensive picture. It all starts with, there is none righteous. No, not one. So this raises a huge question, right? If everybody is in the same boat and there is none righteous, then what on earth was the point of the law? I mean, if it couldn't make people righteous, what was its real purpose? The final part of his argument gives us the powerful answer. First, let's just make sure we're on the same page about what the law means here. It's not just a to-do list. In this argument, the law is God's perfect standard. Its job isn't to save us, its job is to reveal that perfect standard of righteousness. It's the ultimate measuring stick. And check this out. Verse 19 tells us the law's immediate and kind of startling purpose. It exists that every mouth may be stopped. It's there to silence any claim of self-righteousness. When you hold yourself up to that perfect standard, every excuse just vanishes.
and all the world may become guilty before God. And that leads directly to the massive conclusion in verse 20. If the law's main job is to show you that you're guilty, then it just logically follows that, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. You can't be made right with God by using the very tool that was designed to show you you're wrong. And here it is, the final powerful takeaway from verse 20. The law is not a ladder you climb to get to God. It's a mirror. Its true purpose isn't to fix the problem. It's to give us the knowledge of sin, to show us with perfect, unflinching clarity what our true condition is. It proves we need a solution that comes from somewhere completely outside of ourselves. And that's where the argument of Romans 3 leaves us, right on the edge of a cliff. It has systematically taken apart any claim to self-righteousness and proven a universal problem for every single one of us. So if the law is just the diagnosis, it can't be the cure. This chapter has masterfully proven that everyone is in need of a rescue, which perfectly sets the stage for the solution to come. The question it just leaves hanging there is, what could that solution possibly be?